All right, hello guys. As you requested, I'm going to actually show you how you can add the food banking to a rig that you already created for the food. Or I'm going to do one from scratch for the right side. So bear with me. I'm gonna assume that you have your rig already set up for the reverse food, and I'm gonna show you how you can add the two joints for the food banking to have this kind of rotation on the food based on or around these 2 points on the food. And then I will do another one on the right side for you just to realize how you can make it actually from scratch. So as you can see, this rig is already set up for the reverse foot. And as you can see, we are all having all of these heel rotations, ball rotations, and the toe rotations, and all of them are actually working perfectly fine. But now I want to add those two joints here and here for the foot banking. So if I open up the outliner, you can see that it's pretty much standard. I mean, it's straightforward. We are having this controller that is controlling this group of the reverse joint chain. Right, so this is the group that contains the reverse joints. Alright, so ankle, ball, toe, heel. And the group itself is parent constrained to this controller. So whenever I move or rotate this controller, it will move and rotate the group here. So as you can see, we have the parent constraint connected to this group, which means that this heel joint here is actually open or free to receive some connections, some straight connections from these attributes here. So these attributes are controlling the rotation of the heel joint. And just because we are having this group here that receives the parent constraint, it means that the joint here is actually free to receive these connections here. All right. So now I want to add those two joints. First of all, I want to create them. When you want to create the banking joints, one thing that is very important is that you should make sure that the orientation of the joints are actually matched to the orientation of the foot itself to avoid having some sort of penetration of the geometry inside the ground. So let's create two joints. I'm going to create one here. It really doesn't matter where you put them for now. I'm going to duplicate it. For the first one, I'm going to call it left foot banking and joint. And since I'm gonna put it here and this one I'm gonna put it here, I'm gonna call this one inner banking or outer banking or even bank joint. And then the other one is going to be the inner bank joint. Alright. So second, I need to make sure that they are actually perfectly aligned to the geometry. So whenever I rotate the whole foot around this point, it's actually going to happen perfectly. I mean, I don't want to have the geometry to float on the sky when I'm doing the foot banking on the controller. So let's go to one of the orthographic views and place these joints in a right place. So they are actually touching the geometry and they are actually sitting on the ground. So make sure that they are sitting on the ground. So I'm going to put it somewhere around here. And then the other one, I'm going to move it to someplace like here. So whenever I rotate the whole geometry, it will rotate based on this point, and the geometry is not going to be floating on top of the ground, or it's not going actually inside the ground. Alright, so let's also make sure that it's actually in a good place from the top view. So I can see that the geometry here is actually like that, so I'm going to move it up until okay. Let's say that's good. And this one, and let's go back to top view. Sometimes it's very hard to see the whole geometry, but I would say this is the foot. Okay, so I'm going to move this. I think this is in a good place. I would say that's fine. Right? because this is the curvature of the foot. So I would say this is the right place for this joint. Alright, so now before doing the parenting, I need to make sure that the orientation of these two joints are actually set to the wall, or it's actually matching to the foot. Just because this character is having a very straightforward foot, the orientation of these two joints can be aligned to the wall, meaning that, for example, the z direction could be aligned to the z direction of the wall, and the x direction could be aligned to the x direction of the wall. So let's fix all of these by going to the attribute editor and bring up the joint orientation. You can see that I don't have any rotation values here. I don't have any orientation values on it, which means that the joint is actually matched or oriented to the wall, which is what I'm looking for this character. Just to make sure, I'm gonna bring up the object space axis to see if it's actually matched to the wall, or if I can even go to display, transform display, and local rotation axis, just to make sure that the axes are actually matched to the wall and also matched to the orientation of the foot. I'm gonna also bring up the local rotation axis for this one. As you can see, no matter where I put them in the hierarchy, I mean, if this is the child of this one or this is the child of that one, their orientation is always matched to the wall. So let's open up the outliner and create the hierarchy. It really doesn't matter which one to be the child of the other one, because we are just going to use them as for rotating the whole chain here, so it really doesn't matter. Just be consistent about them. I mean, if you do something, for example, if you want to have the inner joint to be the child of the other one for the left side, make sure that you do the same thing for the right side. Again, it really doesn't matter if they don't match. Sometimes it's easier to follow the whole hierarchy or find the specific joints that you're looking for. So I'm going to parent one of them to the other one. All right. And now it's time to connect this reverse chain to these two joints that I just created. So I'm going to select this, the heel joint, the reverse heel joint. And then I'm actually trying to bring these two joints inside this hierarchy, in between this group and this heel joint. So I can simply drag this joint to this group, right? And then have the heel joint to be a child of this one. So I'm gonna drag the heel joint on to the child, which for this example is the outer joint. Or I can simply select the heel joint, select the outer back joint, and hit P, right? I'm not messing up with the connections. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking the connections between this controller to this group. I'm not changing anything. I'm just bringing these two joints in between this group and the heel joint. Okay. So now this is the new parent for the whole chain. This joint is a new parent for the whole reverse joint chain for the foot. And it's still sitting inside this group, which is receiving the parent constraint. Okay, so still, if I move and rotate this controller, it will continue controlling this group. The group will control the inner and outer back joints, and those two joints will control the heel joint. Okay, so I'm actually just bringing these two joints in between the heel joint and the group here. All right. So now, as you can see again, all the connection is working perfect, except we added these two new options for rotating the whole chain, or actually we added two anchor points for rotating the whole chain around these 2 points, these two new joints. So now if I, for example, select the inner back joint and rotate it, it will rotate the whole chain around that inner back joint. Same thing happens for the outer back. So now I can rotate the foot around this one, right? That easy. So I just need to add two new attributes here to control these two rotations. right? I can use, for this example, I can use a set-driven key that goes from -10 to 10. So let's actually do that. I'm going to add an attribute. And I'm going to name it banking. I'm going to set a minimum of -10 and maximum of 10, and then add it to the controller. And I'm going to say that whenever I have positive numbers, I want to have this joint, for example, to rotate the whole foot to this angle, for example, 90 degrees. And when I'm having negative numbers, I want to control this one. So I'm controlling these two joints, the rotation of these two joints, using just one attribute. So let's open up the set-driven key. And I know that this controller is going to be the controller because it contains this attribute. So I'm going to load it as driver. And I'm going to load this joint to be the driven. Okay. And the current position, as the banking is set to 0, the current position for this joint is fine, which is rotation 0 on the z-axis. So I will set a keyframe on rotation z, and the banking controller, the banking attribute, I'm going to set a key, and then I will select the foot controller, increase the banking to +10. All right. Now I'm going to select the joint, and I'm going to rotate it to whatever I want. For example, for this one, I would say maybe -90 degrees would be something that is enough. Okay. And then I'm going to select these two, the banking attribute and the rotation, and set a keyframe. So if I select the controller and check it, I can see that from 0 to 10, I will get this kind of rotation for this joint, which goes from 0 to 90, right? And as you can see, if I go to negative numbers, there's nothing happening because I haven't connected the negative numbers to the rotation of this joint. So let's zero that out, and now let's control this joint. I'm going to select the controller again, load it as driver if it's not already there. This time I'm going to select this inner joint and load it as driven. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. So for the banking, when it's 0, I'm going to select this joint. Again, it's rotation z, so let's set it to 0, rotation z, and I'm going to set a keyframe. Okay, or set a key, I should say. Then I'm going to select the controller. This time I'm going to go to negative numbers, and I'm going to rotate this one to +90. Okay. These numbers really depend on the character, on your character. I mean, if you are having different orientations on the joints, you may end up having different numbers on different axes on the rotations. So let's select these two and set a keyframe and test it. So now if I play with this in negative numbers, you can see that I'm actually controlling this joint. If I go to positive numbers, I'm controlling the other one. All right? So everything is now set. We are all set for the foot banking. I'm going to do the same thing for the right side, just to show you if you haven't started creating the reverse joints, you can actually do it from scratch too. So assume that this connection, this group is actually not created yet. So I'm going to bring out this joint. Okay, and I'm going to create those two joints again. Those two inner and outer joints. If you want to have the perfect numbers or the perfect position for these two joints, if your character is having symmetrical attributes in terms of the geometry, you can use these two joints, mirror them to the other side, and place them perfectly on the other side. So you can select these two joints, right? Because I'm having the whole hierarchy here. If I duplicate this one, I'm gonna get the whole duplicate for the whole chain. That's fine, I can delete the rest of it. So let's duplicate it, bring it out of this chain by shift-ping or shift-parenting it. And you can see that I'm having a lot of extra items here. I can just simply delete them, right? Now I'm having these two joints. I can unparent them, I mean I have a couple of options to mirror them to the other side. One of them is to select this one, go to skeleton mirror joints. So mirror joints, the plane would be YZ, and I'm going to replace LT by RT and hit apply. It will mirror the joints for me and it will bring them out to the other side. Okay. Or, I mean, this is one method. You can also do this. You can select these two joints, bring them in the border space by unparenting them, and then you can see that I'm having a positive number for the x direction, or for the x position of this joint. I can simply put a negative here and it will bring it out to the other side. Do the same thing for this one. So negative 2.16. Okay, so this is another method. Make sure that you change these names. So this is going to be RT foot and this is going to be RT. Alright. Now again, I'm assuming that you're making the whole reverse chain from scratch, so everything regarding to the heel, toe, ball, and ankle is the same, except that you're going to add these two extra joints. So first of all, make sure that again the orientation of the joints are set to work. Alright, and then let's create the hierarchy on this side. So I'm gonna, I can see that I have the outer joint to be a child of the inner joint, so I'm gonna bring this to be a child of the inner. Okay, I'm just trying to make it symmetrical. And then I'm gonna select the heel, select the outer bank, and then parent it. Okay. So again, I wanted to show you that you can make it from scratch. So I'm gonna delete this reverse, this heel joint group, just to make it from scratch. Okay. So I'm going to delete this one. Assuming that you are creating for creating this whole reverse chain from scratch, now you need to group it. Alright. Then you need to name it. Okay. And then now this controller is going to control this group. So select the controller, select the group, go to constraint, do a parent constraint with maintain offset on, apply. Okay. Now this controller is going to control the whole chain, the whole group, and yet we are having still these straight connections on the rotation of the whole reverse joints. And now I can bring this group in my joints group. Okay. If you want, you can even move your groups in your hierarchy by middle mouse clicking and dragging any item in your hierarchy. Make sure that you don't release them on any node here. If you do that, you will actually parent them together. So make sure that you won't release your mouse button on any of these objects. So now it's time to create a set driven key on this side. So I'm going to go to add an attribute, call it food bank or banking, minus 10 to 10. And I'm going to connect this to the rotation of these two. So let's check and see if the positive numbers for this one. Okay, the positive numbers are for the outer bank. So we are going to do the same thing. Set driven key, load it as driver. So I'm going to load the outer joint to be the driven. And I'm going to have positive numbers to control this joint. So the banking controller is going to control the rotation Z of this joint. 0 at 0 key. So I'm going to change the banking attribute to positive 10. And I'm going to rotate this joint to 90 degrees and set a key. I'm going to bring back the banking to 0 and I'm going to control this one this time. So I'm going to load it as driven. Rotate the banking key, negative numbers, and I'm going to rotate this one to negative 90 and set a key. So let's test the whole thing. Here we go. And if I select these two controllers at the same time and play with this banking, I'm expecting to see some mirrored behavior. Alright, negative numbers, it will rotate the whole foot inwards, and positive numbers outward. Isn't it cool? Alright, cool. So that's it. If you wanted to add foot banking to your characters, this is the way to do it. And as you can see, it's pretty much straightforward. And we are just adding two extra joints in between the heel. So this is going to be your final hierarchy for the reverse chain. The two banking joints, then the heel, then the reverse toe, reverse ball, reverse ankle. Okay, that's it. And then you put them in one group, and then use that group to be controlled by the controller.